Hokage Hidden Ace, the time-traveling Hyuga who outshines Madara. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 1. White Eyes Degeneration? Sorry, that's an illusion. Konoha Hospital, Ministry of Education. Tsunade sat on the chair, crossing her legs casually, holding the application materials in her hand, curiously observing Shizuchi's distinctive eyes. Hyuga Jingyi, you quit your ninja team because of the deterioration of your bloodline and applied to join the medical department to study. Do you want to become a medical ninja? Yes, I want to become a medical ninja and find a cure for bloodstain disease. Jingyi gave his own reasons and explanations. Looking at the entire ninja world, medical ninjas have always been in short supply, even Konoha, which attaches great importance to the training of medical ninjas. Tsunade would naturally be happy if someone took the initiative to apply to study in the medical department. The only regret is that the other party belongs to the Hyuga clan, but he suffers from bloodstain disease. Tsunade pointed out, "Can you tell me about your eyes?" Tsunade was curious, even though the bloodstains were also degraded, why Jingyi's eyes were different from others. The blue pupils have a black spot in the center, like a blue star that shines, beautiful and mysterious. Facing Tsunade's question, Jingyi calmly replied. I was injured when I was out on a mission with my team. During the injury, my eyes began to be afraid of bright lights and my vision was blurred. After receiving treatment, the blood stains began to deteriorate. Others thought that Jingyi's Byakugan was degenerating, but they didn't know that this so-called degeneration was actually evolution. Things start before Jingyi traveled through time. He and a best friend were playing a certain Hokage mobile game. 3 days before the game opened, there was a recharge promotion. If you recharge 648, you can get an epic lottery chance. The probability of drawing rare props and items is very high. Jingyi decisively chose Krypton Gold and had good luck in the lottery. He directly drew the reincarnated eye once he entered the soul. Just when Jingyi was about to chat with his best friend, he suddenly felt dizzy, his eyes began to turn black, and he fell straight on the sofa, unconscious. When he woke up, he realized that he had traveled through time and entered the world of Hokage. After the injury improved and the first fetal movement of the Tsangikan ended, Jingyi quit the ninja team on the grounds of bloodstain disease and instead applied to the medical department for study. I have approved your application. You will start studying from tomorrow. I hope you can put aside the bloodstain disease for the time being and study hard with a calm mind. Yes, Tsunade-sama. The application was finally settled, and Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief. The reason why he applied to study in the medical department and be further promoted to a medical ninja was simple: he didn't want to fight for his family and the so-called will of fire. As long as he becomes a medical ninja and applies to work at Konoha Hospital, the family cannot order him to perform family tasks in the name of the clan, nor does he need to accept tasks and commissions in the village. In the ninja world, medical ninja is definitely a profession where it is easy to make money and the income is high. After leaving Konoha Hospital, Jingyi bought a few bottles of non-fading paint, as well as drawing boards, paper and other things before returning home. Unlike other ninja families, the Hyuga clan has a strange distribution of buildings in the clan. With the clan chief's courtyard as the core, the residences of other clan members guard the clan chief's courtyard, and then the residences of many branch house patriarchs guard the clan's courtyard, spreading outward in circles. The lower the family status, the more remote the area where the family members live. Jingyi is one of the members who lives in remote areas. After closing the door, Jingyi put down his things and walked into the bathroom with a bottle of green paint. When Jingyi took off his forehead protector, his forehead had been dyed green. Jingyi's caged bird curse mark disappeared after the first stage of the fetal movement of the reincarnated eye ended, and the mark on his forehead was drawn with a paint pen. Unfortunately, the paint at home tends to fade. That's why Jingyi deliberately bought paint that won't fade. He bought drawing boards and other things by the way, which made people mistakenly think that he was learning to draw. The reincarnated eye needs to experience 3 fetal movements to stabilize. During this period, Jingyi cannot use the power of the reincarnated eye. Every time the fetal movement occurs, he has to hide in a room with the doors and windows closed and wait for the fetal movement to end. Fortunately, these problems can all be explained by bloodstain disease. The family firmly believes that Jingyi is not the first person in the Hyuga clan to suffer from bloodstains. But the way the family members looked at him had begun to change. Byakugan is the pupil technique that the Hyuga clan is proud of. The degradation of bloodstains means losing the Byakugan and losing its original status and value. Jingyi doesn't care what his tribe thinks of him. A decadent, dark, and unfair family like Hyuga is not worthy of his support and dedication. After becoming a medical ninja, he moved out from the Hyuga clan. Not caring about other people's opinions does not mean that Jingyi is willing to be looked down upon or willing to accept unequal treatment from his tribe. Use a paint pen to draw the caged bird curse on her forehead. After observing it carefully, Shizune snapped her fingers with satisfaction. Perfect. After getting the curse seal used for disguise, Jingyi came to the yard and started training. Gentle Fist and so on were directly ignored by him. From today on, he needs to work hard to improve the strength of his chakra control. This is a necessary condition for becoming a medical ninja. When the 3 fetal movements of his reincarnated eye are over, he can directly overthrow the clan, so he doesn't care about Gentle Fist. Training content such as climbing trees and treading water is not difficult for Jingyi, but this is just the beginning of fine control of chakra. If you want to become a medical ninja, you still need to work hard. Early the next morning, Jingyi took a lunchbox, as well as some notebooks and pens for recording, and rushed to Konoha Hospital. The medical department is connected to Konoha Hospital, so just go directly to Konoha Hospital and wait for Tsunade's arrangements. Before long, Tsunade came, yawning and with a little messy hair. Read these books and then tell me what level your chakra control has reached. I am very sleepy now and have no time to teach you. After saying that, Tsunade lay on the table and fell asleep. Tsunade taught me personally? Jingyi didn't expect that he would be favored by the boss. No, Tsunade at this period was not yet a boss, and had not even received the title of Sannin. He can only be considered a pretty capable medical jonin. These are books prepared by Tsunade, specially prepared for novices, and are just right for beginners like Shizuchi. Jingyi walked to the corner, put down his bag, opened the book in his hand, and read it carefully. The beginning is an introduction to medical ninjas, and after a few pages, there are various training methods for fine control of chakra, as well as standard classifications. Treading water and climbing trees can only be considered an introduction. Hey! Looking at the detailed records in the book, Jingyi found that he seemed to have reached the learning standards of a medical ninja. It seems that since the end of the first fetal movement of the reincarnated eye, his control over chakra has been greatly improved, and as time goes by, his ability in this area continues to increase. After all, the reincarnation eye is a powerful eye technique comparable to the reincarnation eye, and it can enhance Jingyi in all aspects. Resisting the idea of waking Tsunade, Jingyi continued to look down. Unknowingly, the whole morning passed by like this. Jingyi read a book all morning, and Tsunade also slept all morning. Fortunately, there were no seriously ill patients in the hospital in the morning, so Tsunade did not need to take action personally. As a result, Tsunade had a good sleep, although her sleeping posture was not very elegant. After all, if you sleep on the table, one side of your face will become red easily, and you will drool unconsciously. Glancing at the water stains on the table, Jingyi's mouth twitched slightly. Tsunade-heim, how about your reserve an image? I don't have a camera in my hand, otherwise I could take 2 photos of Tsunade and keep them as dark historical photos. New book starts, babies, long time no see. I have been recuperating due to physical reasons, but now, your donkey is back. Compare your heart. Episode 2. Isn't it just sage jutsu? Isn't it difficult? Rubbing his belly, Jingyi took out the lunchbox he brought with him from the bag. Open the lunchbox and the aroma begins to fill the air. Tsunade sat up in her sleep, wiped her saliva without any image, and said confusedly, "Is dinner ready?" The lounge was quiet for a while, and Tsunade, whose thoughts began to return to her brain, realized that this was the lounge. Subconsciously, her eyes turned to the lunchbox in Jingyi's hand. "Let's eat something together?" Facing Tsunade's somewhat confused gaze, Shizuchi raised the lunchbox. "Ha, that's great. I woke up too late in the morning and didn't even eat breakfast." Tsunade was not polite, snatched the lunchbox over, grabbed the chopsticks in the lunchbox, and started eating in front of Shizuchi, without any intention of sharing. "This is my bento." Jingyi didn't expect that he was just being polite, but who knew he would bump into an ungrateful female bandit. It's delicious. This is chicken. It tastes good. There's also this. When you come over tomorrow, bring me another one." Tsunade was eating and making requests. Jingyi really wants to give her a big P***** sy and eat my bento, and you still make demands. Thinking that this girl almost killed Jiraiya with one punch a while ago, Jingyi suppressed the urge to give her a big P***** sy. After finishing the bento quickly, Tsunade patted her belly with satisfaction and said with a happy face. So satisfied, hiccup. Jingyi. Wiping her mouth, Tsunade handed the lunchbox to Jingyi. By the way, what level has your control over chakra reached? The 3rd level. Jingyi replied with a dark face. Very nice. Hearing this, Tsunade raised her hand with a smile and shook her finger at him. Boy, we are going to get busy. Go find a new coat in the cabinet next to you and put it on. From today on, you will start with me. Putting on a brand new white coat, Jingyi started his learning career with Tsunade. Even though I am starting out, I can still learn a lot. As a newcomer, you must be mentally prepared to start from the basics. On the first day, Jingyi basically learned how to bandage wounds correctly. The chakra and physical strength of medical ninjas are limited, and it is impossible to use medical ninjutsu to treat any patient he encounters. Suture treatment and bandaging are also important knowledge that medical ninjas need to learn. There are not many times when Tsunade needs to take action personally. After all, there are many medical ninjas stationed in hospitals and medical departments. It's just that compared to Tsunade, these people's skills are not at the same level at all. After observation, Jingyi discovered that many medical ninjas could not even master Sage Jutsu. After handing the treated patient over to others to take care of, Tsunade wiped the sweat from her head and took the initiative to explain. Mastering Sage Jutsu is an A-level medical ninjutsu that is very difficult to master. In the entire Konoha hospital and even the medical department, there are only a few people who can learn it. I don't want to eat your lunch for nothing. There are related books in my cabinet. And ninjutsu scroll. You can read it yourself when you have a break. Just put it where it belongs. Although Tsunade is an unreasonable female bandit, being unreasonable does not mean being shameless. Even though she ate the bento that Jingyi brought and asked to continue bringing the bento, Tsunade would not let Jingyi suffer. Jingyi can read and study the books and scrolls in his collection. Tsunade is not afraid of Jingyi secretly learning ninjutsu. If Jingyi can learn it, she will be the happiest person. Most of the ninjutsu that Tsunade recorded in the scrolls are difficult to learn. It takes a lot of effort to master them, and it also depends on whether you have enough talent. With Tsunade's permission, Shizuchi decisively selected some books to take home to read, including ninjutsu scrolls, and Shizuchi chose Sage Jutsu. Whether it is difficult or not, we will decide after trying it. 3 days later, Jingyi looked at the green light on his palm. Isn't it difficult to master? How long have you been studying by yourself? Although it had been 3 days since he brought the scroll back, Shizuchi didn't study for long because he had to go to Konoha Hospital to study with Tsunade during the day and read various books when he got home after get-off work. If you want to become a medical ninja, you must master a lot of relevant knowledge, which covers a lot of knowledge. Between working as a temporary worker and reading books, Shizuchi didn't have much time to learn ninjutsu. But even so, he still learned to master Sage Jutsu in 3 days. Jingyi remembered that in the anime, Sakura had to put in a lot of effort to learn how to master Sage Jutsu. She studied for a long time before mastering this medical ninjutsu. The next day, I came to Konoha Hospital. Shizuchi told Tsunade the news immediately. Oh, just learn it. Suna, who was writing a medical record, replied without raising her head. After a few seconds, she felt something was wrong and raised her head suddenly, staring directly at Shizuchi. You said you have learned how to master Sage Jutsu? Are you sure it's not basic healing ninjutsu? No, it's just palm Sage Jutsu. Is this technique difficult? Jingyi raised his hands, both palms covered with green chakra. Tsunade stared blankly at Shizuchi's hands, her mouth slightly opened. How long did I study for? Tsunade suddenly thought of her past self and asked impatiently. Tell me the process of learning how to master Sage Jutsu. Don't miss anything. Is this kid a genius? No, is there any more talented medical ninja than me, Tsunade? I don't believe it. Facing Tsunade's questioning, Jingyi spread his hands and answered. When I go home from Konoha Hospital every day, apart from taking a shower, cooking and eating, I spend the rest of the time reading. When I get tired, I take out the scrolls and study. That's how I learned it. What the hell? Tsunade cursed directly. For 3 days, this kid had to go to Konoha Hospital to study with him every day. When he got home, he had to cook by himself. Then he found time to read a book. When he was tired, he learned ninjutsu by himself, and then he learned it. Look at Shizuchi, and then look at the medical ninjas in the medical department who are learning to master sage jutsu and complaining all day long. Is this the difference between geniuses and ordinary people? I feel so depressed when I step on a horse. No, I'm F*** edition. This kid studies with me and is already half of my student. An awesome teacher teaches awesome disciples. Is there a problem with this? No problem. Very good, you are worthy of being a student taught by my Tsunade. Tsunade had a teachable expression, raised her hand and patted Jingyi on the shoulder, and warned, study hard, don't be complacent, wait until you have learned all the applicable medical ninjutsu, and then master some related knowledge. I'll let you apply for an early exam. When will the exam be held and whether the standard is sufficient? That is what Tsunade said. In the entire Konoha, no one is more qualified than her. I will study hard and will not disappoint Tsunade-sama. Jingyi solemnly promised. Not to mention Tsunade, he himself also wanted to pass the medical ninja test as soon as possible and then move out of the Hyuga tribe's land, a place full of darkness and decay. Go and study. From today on, you don't have to follow me. After thinking about it, Tsunade chose to let Shizuchi stay in the lounge and study peacefully, without having to do the starting work. It's not that Tsunade is afraid of tiring Jingyi, but Jingyi's learning ability is too strong. Some of the basic things needed for treatment, Jingyi has almost mastered in just a few days. Instead of just following along, it is better to study hard and try to take the medical ninja assessment as soon as possible. Tsunade wanted to know where Shizuchi's limit was. In just 3 days, I easily learned how to master Sage Jutsu. Is this a matter of talent or just luck? Episode 3. The people Tsunade recognizes are her own people. With Tsunade's support, Jingyi no longer needs to follow around and can stay in the lounge to study every day. With enough time and Tsunade's personal guidance, Shizuchi learned the chakra scalpel in 2 days. After a period of time, Jingyi was like a dry and flat sponge, quickly absorbing all kinds of relevant knowledge and learning various medical ninjutsu. Tsunade was shocked at the beginning, gradually became accustomed to it, and finally became numb. She felt like she was being squeezed dry, with not a drop left. The medical ninjutsu I learned has been completely beaten by Shizuchi. 2 months later, Tsunade personally took Shizuchi to take the assessment. As expected, Jingyi passed the examination with excellent results, successfully obtained the medical ninja certificate, and submitted an application form to work in the hospital. In an elegant tavern, Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, and the team's threesome reunited. Tsunade, I heard that you have accepted a disciple, and he is from the Hyuga clan. Jiraiya healed his scar and forgot about the pain. He forgot about being beaten to death and winked at Tsunade when they met. Oh, is there such a thing? Orochimaru's hand holding up the wine glass paused. She glared at Jiraiya fiercely, making Jiraiya tremble, and then Tsunade withdrew her gaze with satisfaction. I didn't accept a disciple. I just saw that the boy had talent. I happened to have time, so I took him along, but I made a mistake. Hokage has a very high medical talent. Don't talk about this. Shaking her head, Tsunade changed the topic. What are you two doing recently? Since Jonen's assessment, the 3 of them have completely withdrawn from the team and are busy working on their own. Tsunade is in Konoha Hospital, Orochimaru is doing some weird research, and Jiraiya is either performing tasks or stealing, to collect materials. I ran into a troublesome task recently and it took me a while. Orochimaru replied casually. Hey, I'm quite busy, Jiraiya put his hands together and rubbed them together. Unexpectedly, he was interrupted by Tsunade just before he opened his mouth. Okay, you don't have to say it. If you're not peeking at girls taking a shower, you're writing your messy stuff. With that said, Tsunade put down the wine glass and slapped the table to warn him. If I find out that Shengshu has brought some weird books back again, I promise to beat you to death. Why don't you teach other things and have to take your children to read pornographic books? Ahem, misunderstanding, this is a misunderstanding. It was brought back quietly by the rope tree. It has nothing to do with me. Jiraiya defended himself with a guilty conscience. Hee hee. Looking at the fierce-looking Tsunade and the cowering Jiraiya, Orochimaru raised the corners of his mouth slightly. This was one of the few times he could relax, and Orochimaru cherished these days, even though he spent most of his time sitting aside and watching quietly. Drink and eat, share some interesting things from work or tasks. Soon, the three people who were full of wine and food left each other. Tsunade left, but Jiraiya was still sitting there, holding a bottle of wine in his hand and grinning. Tsunade seemed to have forgiven him and was no longer angry with him. Looking at Jiraiya, who kept giggling with disgust, Orochimaru stood up and left silently. After returning home, Tsunade, smelling of alcohol, had just entered the door when she met Kushina sitting alone in the yard. Tsunade-sama. When someone came, Kushina raised her head and stood up quickly to say hello. Call me sister, or is the word sister a bit hot on the tongue? Dissatisfied, Tsunade put her hand on Kushina's head and messed up Kushina's red hair. Tsunade-ne. Her hair was messed up. Kushina was stunned for a few seconds and let out a scream. After all, not many girls like to hold up a chicken coop. Don't cry, don't cry. My sister is wrong. I will take you out shopping later, okay? Tsunade didn't expect Kushina's heart to be so fragile, and she burst into tears after being teased a little. It took a lot of effort to coax Kushina and promised to take her out shopping. Looking at the smile on the little girl's face, Tsunade helplessly shrugged her shoulders. She felt that coaxing the child was more tiring than working in the hospital. Sister Tsunade, someone just sent you a letter. After getting Tsunade's promise, Kushina took out a letter like a treasure. Letter? Mine? Who will write to my mother? Tsunade took the envelope and opened it doubtfully. After glancing at the contents on the letter paper, her face became solemn. Putting the letter away, Tsunade patted Kushina's little head. Kushina, Sister Tsunade needs to go out to do some errands. Can I take you out shopping another day? Can't I go? Kushina looked at Tsunade pitifully. Tsunade is starting to have a headache. Why are you teasing your child when you have nothing to do? She feels uncomfortable now. After struggling for a while, Tsunade was finally defeated. You can, right? But you have to be obedient, you know? Kushina is a poor child, and Shizuchi is in a similar situation. If the two of them get together, maybe there will be something to talk about, and maybe Kushina can make a new friend? Although the village strictly prohibits anyone from contacting Kushina, Shizuchi is someone whom Tsunade recognizes and is equally one of her own. What happened to contacting Kushina when she, Tsunade, was here? Anyone who is dissatisfied can come to her, Tsunade-hime, to argue. So Tsunade took Kushina away from the Senju ancestral home and walked towards the Hyuga tribe. She thought of something on the way and bought a lot of food at a roadside store. Lady Tsunade took Kushina to the Hyuga tribe. The Umbu ninja who monitored Kushina immediately reported the news to 3rd Hokage. In Hokage's office, the 3rd Hokage standing by the window looked towards the direction of the Hyuga clan. Is it because of Hyuga? Jingyi applied to study in the medical department. In just over 2 months, he mastered medical ninjutsu better than many medical ninjas and successfully passed the medical ninja examination. On the day the assessment ended, various materials were delivered to 3rd Hokage's desk. Because of the injury, the bloodstains deteriorated, and then he was treated coldly by his family and received a lot of unfair treatment, so he applied to study in the medical department, but he accidentally showed his talent. The scarcity of medical ninjas and Shizuchi's own talent attracted the attention of the 3rd Hokage. The most important reason is that Jingyi is a person recognized by Tsunade, and Tsunade is a Hokage disciple. After all, Jingyi is half one of her own. 3rd Hokage took out Jingyi's information and looked at it carefully, then was silent for a while. What a pity. Jingyi's situation is quite special, which results in him being at most half of his own person. Episode 4. Hello, my name is Kushina, Uzumaki Kushina. In the living room with the doors and windows closed, Jingyi, whose face was covered with a silk scarf, sat quietly on a chair. The second fetal movement of the reincarnated I came a bit suddenly, so Jingyi had to ask someone to send a letter to Tsunade, asking her to ask for leave for herself, and she needed to recuperate for a while. Jingyi couldn't be sure how long it would take. He would stay at home and rest until the second fetal movement of the reincarnated I was over. Dong dong dong. Hyuga Jinjichi. A knock on the door woke up Jingyi, who had let his mind wander. His thoughts returned, and Jingyi stepped forward and opened the door. Although his eyes were blindfolded, his strong mental power and perception meant that even if Jingyi was blindfolded and couldn't see anything, it wouldn't cause too much inconvenience to his life. Tsunade is not alone, she also has a child. This chakra is not something that ordinary people can have. The child, coupled with the huge vitality of chakra, which is difficult for ordinary people to match, and this sensitive time point, Jingyi guessed the identity of the other party. Vortex Kushina. Shizuchi came to the gate of opening in person. Tsunade looked at him blindfolded and said in surprise. I thought you, Hyuga, couldn't even take care of yourself, but I didn't expect you to move around freely. Jingyi let the gate of opening open and said, although I can't see anything, with the help of smell, hearing, and perception, life can remain normal. As for the work of Konoha Hospital, it can only be temporarily stopped. Taking Kushina into Jing's house, Tsunade looked at the layout of the house. Kushina followed behind, looking around like a curious baby. I will take care of it at the hospital. You can just rest at home and recuperate. Tsunade waved her hand nonchalantly, pulled Kushina to sit on the sofa, and said with some worry, but your eyes. It's just a small side effect. It will recover after a while. Shizuchi gave Tsunade a reassuring smile and nodded to Kushina. Hello, my name is Kushina, Uzumaki Kushina. Kushina subconsciously stood up and introduced herself to Jingyi. Hyuga, nice to meet you. At this time, the village leaders will not allow outsiders to contact Kushina, but Kushina was brought here by Tsunade, so that's okay. My sister Kushina is a lovely girl. Tsunade raised her eyebrows and deliberately made the word cute girl very long. Kushina, who was staring at Shizuchi curiously, immediately blushed and stomped her feet dissatisfied. Tsunade's sister, what are you talking about? Although you can't see it, you can tell from the frivolous tone that Tsunade is starting to become unserious. Ahaha. Kushina blushed with embarrassment, which Tsunade found very funny. But Kushina would be made to cry if she used too much force without teasing, so Tsunade had to stop in time and change the topic. By the way, you can't see, so I brought you some food, including rice balls, meatballs, and... These are all things I don't like. You might as well bring me some food and I'll cook it myself. At least being blindfolded doesn't prevent Jingyi from cooking. He is personally picky about what he eats, especially rice balls. Foods like meatballs do not cause colds. You can keep it for yourself. If you really want to help me, buy some vegetables for me. Shizuchi waved his hand and rejected Tsunade's kindness. I know you mean well, but as long as I have the conditions, I can't give in. So you, Tsunade, can take these things back and eat them yourself. Can you still cook for yourself? Tsunade made a sound of surprise, recalling the delicious bento she had eaten during this period, and swallowed subconsciously. This is okay. It's barely okay. It shouldn't affect the taste. Do you want to try it? Want. It was so embarrassing, Kushina had no choice but to cover her face. She felt that Tsunade was a little too much. This good-looking little brother obviously can't see, but he still wants others to cook. Sister Tsunade, didn't you eat out and drink? Half an hour later, when the beef brisket stewed with potatoes was served to the table, Kushina shed tears of disappointment and finished 3 large bowls with tears. So delicious. Belch. Compared to Kushina, who still needs to pay attention to her image and remain reserved, Tsunade doesn't care about this at all. She leans on the sofa carelessly and burps. She admits that she accidentally got high. Jingyi-kun is so amazing, he can still make such delicious food even though he can't see anything. Kushina's eyes sparkled when she looked at Shizuchi. After resting for a while, Tsunade sat up straight and rubbed her belly. Jingyi, can you tell me about the condition of your eyes? If you need help, just ask. At present, everything is under control, but it is not convenient to go out to buy things. Jingyi shook his head. If necessary, he would definitely not be polite to Tsunade. I will hold your thigh now, and you will hold mine in the future. In the future, I will help you buy some things you need after get off work. Tsunade generously took over the shopping. No, I need to take a rest. Kushina, call me when you get home. I'll take a nap first. Being drunk, Tsunade felt that she had to take a nap, and it happened that the sofa in Jing's family was big enough, soft and very comfortable. After occupying the sofa, Tsunade turned around, turned her back to Shizuchi and Kushina, and fell asleep. It's really not polite at all. Jingyi laughed directly. Kushina was so embarrassed that she almost dug out the 3 bedrooms and 1 living room with her toes. Shizuchi-kun, Tsunade-san drank a lot outside today and came directly after receiving your letter, so. Kushina could only try her best to explain to Tsunade. What a nice girl, gentle and considerate, ugh. Jingyi suddenly remembered Kushina's nickname, Blood Red Pepper. This nickname was first given to him by his classmates, but was later given to him by Kushina with his fists. Let everyone know that this little blood red pepper is not to be trifled with. So careless. How is life in Konoha? When will you go to ninja school? Jingyi changed the topic to Kushina. Very bad. Perhaps because she felt comfortable getting along with Shizuchi, Kushina put aside her reserve and inner nervousness, and said with a grimace, I can only stay with Grandma Mito, and I can't go anywhere. There is no familiar person around me. As he spoke, Kushina's eyes began to turn red, and her 2 big eyes became teary, and tears were likely to fall down at any time. The corners of Tsunade's mouth twitched a few times with her back to Shizuchi and Kushina. Hyuga Jingyi, why don't you talk about this with Kushina? I want to see how you can coax her. Jingyi listened quietly. When Kushina was about to cry, she shook her head slightly and said, when people come to a strange place and lack a sense of security, they are always at a loss. Although I have my clansmen around me, they are more strange to me than strangers. Ah. The tears that were about to fall from Kushina's big eyes stopped. The little girl looked at Jingyi blankly. The clan members are more strange than strangers? Jingyi pointed at his eyes and said with a self-deprecating smile, because in the eyes of the clan, I am suffering from a terrible blood-stain disease. I am about to lose my family's unique eye skills and will become a waste. Jingyi-kun is not a waste, you are obviously so powerful. Kushina also forgot about her sadness and defended Jingyi. Sister Tsunade said that you are very talented. Ninjutsu, a medical treatment that is difficult for others to learn, you can learn it in a few days. You are a genius, and your tribe does not have it vision. Maybe. Jingyi shook his head slightly and said seriously, actually, I don't care about the cold treatment of my family, nor the cold eyes of my tribe, nor the unequal treatment of my family. Since no one accepts me, then I will start a new life. Looking forward, people cannot live in the pain of the past. Looking forward, people cannot live in the pain of the past. This sentence kept looping in Kushina's mind. Episode 5. Hyuga Jingyi, I was really killed by you. After leaving Jing's house, Kushina felt her scalp was a little itchy, as if something was about to grow. Tsunade kept yawning. This feeling of wanting to sleep and eavesdropping is terrible. Not to mention I didn't sleep well, and I drank a lot of chicken soup. It almost swelled her to death. It's night at Senju's ancestral home. Kushina sat next to Uzumaki Mito and chirped. Grandma Mito, I met a new friend today, and he invited me and Sister Tsunade to dinner. Since Kushina came to Konoha, it's rare to see a happy smile on her face. Uzumaki Mito raised an arm around Kushina, a kind smile on his face. Is that the little guy named Hyuga? I've heard little Tsunade say this name a lot lately. Do I keep nagging? Is there any? Tsunade scratched her head irritably and lay down as soon as she came back. As a result, he was caught by Uzumaki Mito not long after he fell asleep. The reason is to spend more time with Kushina so that she can integrate into this family and the big family of Konoha more quickly. Hyuga Jinjichi? Is he the genius that my sister mentioned? The one who learned medical ninjutsu very quickly? Shangshu inquired curiously. Yes. Kushina nodded her head vigorously a few times. The beef and potatoes made by Shizuchi-kun were delicious. Sister Tsunade ate 5 bowls. As she spoke, she raised her little hand and made a gesture. Kushina. Tsunade's eyes widened in disbelief. Didn't you eat 3 bowls yourself? I couldn't hold it back. Kushina felt a little embarrassed and crawled into Uzumaki Mito's arms. Naoshu looked at his angry sister, then at Kushina who looked shy, and blinked. Is it really so delicious? Even Kushina, who never had much of an appetite, finished 3 large bowls. Watching his granddaughter and Kushina cheating on each other, Uzumaki Mito laughed. He just smiled, and the smile on the old man's face gradually disappeared. I remember that the child wrote to you, saying that he had a bloodstain attack and couldn't see. Tsunade, who didn't know why, nodded, yawned and said. Yes, his eyes are still covered with a cloth. I will ask for leave for him tomorrow and let him rest at home for a while. Tsunade. Uzumaki Mito's tone suddenly became stern. You asked a blind child to cook for you? And you ate 5 big bowls? Because it's delicious. Tsunade wanted to stretch her body, but was stunned as soon as she raised her hand. At this time, she suddenly realized and looked up hurriedly. Uzumaki Mito, who originally had a kind smile on his face, now had a straight face and his cloudy eyes stared at her firmly. Oops! Tsunade's heart skipped a beat, and Kushina, who was sitting next to Uzumaki Mito, also realized something was wrong and subconsciously moved her but so that she could sit further away. Sister, you let a person with an injured eye cook for you. Shengshu yelled. Shut up, he did it himself. In order to prove that he can live independently, I didn't ask him to cook. After yelling at Naoki fiercely, Tsunade quickly explained. Grandma, you have to believe me. If you don't believe me, just ask Kushina. After the meal, Hyuga Jingyi comforted and enlightened Kushina. Kushina liked him very much and almost didn't call her brother. I didn't. Kushina shook her head in denial, and her cute little face turned red. Rope tree, Kushina, you go and rest first. Uzumaki Mito took a deep breath and let his grandson and Kushina leave first. Hyuga Jingyi, I was killed by you. Tsunade groaned secretly. Kushina was worried, Tsunade-san will be fine. Grandma Mito looks terrible when she is angry. No, what can happen? At most, I will get scolded. Anyway, my sister is used to it. Grandma always teaches her to behave like a girl, but my sister always turns a deaf ear. Shengshu didn't care, because this scene had happened many times and he was already used to it. Even Tsunade is used to it. She pretends to be a grandson when being scolded, and then prays in her heart that the scolding time will be shorter and grandma will say less nagging words. Afterwards, I still went my own way. I knew I was wrong and I recognized it, but I just didn't change it. Tsunade was being trained, and Jingyi was lying on the bed at this time. His right hand was moving slowly, and a glass was floating in front of the bed. It was floating around as Jingyi's hand turned. With the arrival of the second fetal movement of the reincarnated eye, Jingyi began to be able to use some of the power of the reincarnated eye even during the fetal movement. Even if he couldn't use it at full strength, it still made him feel happy. Like the reincarnation eye, the reincarnation eye also has the ability to control gravity and repulsion. If you turn on the reincarnated eye chakra mode, you can even control the movement of the planet. Of course, such a feat is not something ordinary people can accomplish. It doesn't mean that you can do everything if you have the Tsangikan. The combination of Jingyi and Sangon at this time is like a rocket thruster installed on a tricycle. If the rocket thruster is fully powered, the tricycle will only face the fate of falling apart. The popular point is that the power of the reincarnated eye is too strong, and Jingyi's body cannot withstand such power. He needs a certain amount of time to adapt, gradually develop and use it, and finally completely control the power of the reincarnated eye. Fortunately, his eyes belong to him, and there will be no situation where people are sucked dry by the eyes or crushed. Just look at Nagato, who is used as a tool to nourish the reincarnation eye, and you will know how terrifying eyes like the reincarnation eye and reincarnation eye are. A Uzumaki bloodline like Nagato couldn't bear to suck it. Currently, for Shizuchi, the most practical ability is to control gravity and repulsion. The only exception is to control puppets. Maybe he can act as a puppet master and teach the puppet troops of Sand Shinobi Village a lesson on what manipulation is. The essence of puppetry. Plop, plop. In the dark night, the fetal movement of the eyes was particularly obvious. Jingyi lay on the bed and quietly felt the changes in the eyes. The strong fetal movement indicates that the fusion of the reincarnated eye is very smooth. Late at night, the lights in the Hokage office building finally went out. Third Hokage, who is in his prime, has finished his work for the day, which also means that those who worked overtime with Third Hokage can take a rest. After tidying up, Third Hokage was preparing to go home and rest. As soon as he walked out of Hokage's office, Umbu's man whispered. Hokage-sama, Mito-sama would like you to go see her after get off work. Third Hokage paused, I understand. It's easy to guess why Uzumaki Mito wants to see him, it's just for Kushina. In Konoha today, the only person worthy of Uzumaki Mito to worry about is Kushina. With Hokage escorts, the third Hokage came to Senju's ancestral home. Uzumaki Mito has been waiting for a while. Mito-sama. The third Hokage signaled the Hokage guards to leave first, then walked quickly towards Uzumaki Mito, and respectfully saluted Uzumaki Mito. Episode 6. Uzumaki Mito's warning to Konoha F4. Don't look at him. Hiruzen Sarutobi is the Hokage designated by Senju Tobirama. Without the support of Uzumaki Mito behind this, his position as third Hokage would definitely not be stable. Uzumaki Mito, who was leaning on the recliner, slowly opened his eyes. Monkey, you are here. Facing Uzumaki Mito, third Hokage did not dare to show off at all, and quickly stepped forward to help Uzumaki Mito sit up straight. After Uzumaki Mito sat firmly, he stood up straight. Monkey, Kushina is the next nine-tails Jinchuriki of the village. She is also the princess of the Uzumaki clan. She has the same status as me. She should have the right to control her own life. This will be more conducive for him to integrate into the big family of Konoha and bring Konoha to the world. Treat it as your own home. The third Hokage said respectfully, Mito-sama, when Kushina comes to Konoha, she is a member of Konoha. I will not restrict or interfere with her life. He knew very well that Uzumaki Mito was reminding him not to keep interfering in Kushina's life, as this would not be conducive to Kushina's integration into Konoha. It's good that you understand, ugh. Uzumaki Mito felt indescribably uncomfortable. Looking at Kushina today, it was as if she was seeing herself in the past, but she was much happier than Kushina. At least when she married into the Senju clan, the Uzumaki clan was still there, and the Senju Hashirama was also very kind to her. Even if she becomes a Jinchuriki, no one dares to disrespect her. Kushina obviously does not have the treatment and status that Uzumaki Mito can have. Konoha can at most give Kushina some financial support. After all, he swallowed the huge wealth of the Uzumaki clan, and he couldn't live with it if he didn't give Kushina any points. Kushina needs not only financial freedom, but also sufficient personal freedom. There are some plans I have drawn up above. Konoha has taken away too many things from the Uzumaki clan. Let's give some compensation to the child Kushina. I hope the Hokage office will implement it as soon as possible. In addition, don't interfere too much in Kushina's life. That's it. Yes. The third Hokage put away the scroll respectfully, then helped Mito Uzumaki back into the house, and then left. On the matter of compensation, the third Hokage and the elders have reached an agreement. Although the elders were a little reluctant, when Uzumaki Mito was involved, the elders could only hold their noses and admit it. The next day, the Konoha F4 team sat in the Hokage office. The third Hokage took out the scroll given by Uzumaki Mito and handed it to them. After moving to bed, Koharu and Mito Katarin chose to remain silent. Only Danzo Shimura, who was Hokage's assistant, had a bigger reaction. No, I don't agree with such a decision. I can agree to compensate Kushina, but Kushina's safety must be fully monitored, and not too many people should be allowed to come into contact with Jinchuriki. During this period, Danzo Shimura was only an assistant to the Hokage on the surface, and his future reputation as a leader had not yet developed. The growth and development of the root occurred after the Second Ninja War. At this time, Shimura Danzo was just an assistant to the Hokage who had an empty position but did not have much power. This is Mito-sama's order. The third Hokage did not argue with Shimura Danzo and directly moved the Uzumaki Mito out. If you are capable, Danzo, go to this ancestor and say, as long as you can convince Uzumaki Mito, I have no objection to locking up Kushina. Shimura Danzo raised his hand angrily, wanting to say something, but his dissatisfied words could only get stuck. This is Mito-sama's order, why should you do it? Vitamin inflammation and transfer Koharu couldn't help but shake his head. Danzo's desire for control is too strong. If anyone else made such a decision, even the third Hokage, Danzo Shimura would dare to stand up to him. But the person who made this decision was Uzumaki Mito. No matter how dissatisfied Shimura Danzo was, he would not dare to disrespect Uzumaki Mito. At most, I cursed a few words in my mind. Seeing that Shimura Danzo's arrogance was extinguished, third Hokage spoke. Danzo, Mito-sama is already dissatisfied because of the Uzumaki clan. Mito-sama likes Kushina very much. She is helping Kushina and is also warning us not to go too far. Just don't regret it. It was Shimura Danzo who handled the Uzumaki clan's affairs, and the result is self-evident, which disappointed Uzumaki Mito, very disappointing. Uzumaki Mito didn't stand up to accuse him or punish him. He had already given them Konoha Tendan enough face. Faced with these conditions put forward by Uzumaki Mito, Konoha Tendan can only accept them no matter how dissatisfied they are. Shimura Danzo stormed away. After going to bed, Koharu shook his head and asked, "Hiruzen, I heard that Tsunade brought out a very talented student. Is this true?" "Well, this child's name is Hyuga Shizuchi. Take a look at his information for yourselves." Mito-sama agrees with Kushina's contact with this child and has no objections. When in doubt, just push it to Uzumaki Mito. Jingyi's information was quickly sent to the Hokage office. After reading the information, Koharu and Mito Kadini understood why Uzumaki Mito and the third Hokage did not prevent Kushina from contacting Jingyi. "This is completely my own." No, at most half, because of the existence of the caged bird curse seal, Jingyi can only be regarded as half a person. Putting down the information in his hand, he went to bed. Koharu said with emotion, "Mito-sama is still amazing." He grasps the little girl's admiration and sympathy very accurately. How to make Kushina fully integrate into Konoha? It's very simple. Let her make true friends, let her feel the warmth of family and friendship, and then gradually regard herself as a member of Konoha. Imprisonment and custody is the lowest level of incompetent decision-making. "Child, what's wrong with you?" Noticing that Kushina had been absent-minded all morning, and frequently looked towards the door at noon, Uzumaki Mito sat next to Kushina and gently hugged her shoulders. "Grandma Mito, I'm fine." Kushina smiled sheepishly. "Yesterday when I was at Shizuchi-kuen's house, Sister Tsunade said that she would help Shizuchi-kuen buy groceries every day, but Sister Tsunade was educated by Grandma Mito last night, and she didn't even do it today. I went to work and am still sleeping." Is Kushina worried that Jingyi's child will not have food to eat? Mito Uzumaki teased Kushina with a smile in his eyes. No. Kushina shook her head quickly. "Grandma Mito, I think Shizuchi-kuen will be very disappointed if Tsunade-san doesn't come over. After all, they made an agreement yesterday." It seems that Kushina cares about her new friends. Uzumaki Mito deliberately made a serious face. "You don't think about counting on your sister Tsunade. This child is sulking with me and didn't even get up to eat at noon. Ah, what should I do, Jingyi-kun?" Tsunade was angry and didn't want to go out, so her promise to help Jingyi buy groceries was in vain. And Jingyi couldn't even see anything, so he definitely couldn't go out. Tsunade can't go, but Kushina can. "Can you help your sister Tsunade fulfill this agreement?" Uzumaki Mito encouraged Kushina with a smile. "Since you, Tsunade's sister, don't want to go out, I can only leave the agreed matters to you." "I can't." Kushina shook her head subconsciously. She was not familiar with Konoha yet and couldn't even tell where she went, let alone go to the market to buy vegetables and send them to Shizuchi. Alas, it seems that Tsunade is going to break her agreement with someone else. Uzumaki Mito sighed, his tone full of regret. Hearing this, Kushina's cute little face was completely confused. She didn't want Tsunade to break her promise, nor did she want Jingyi to be disappointed, but she really didn't know the way, and she had never gone to the market to buy anything either before or now. As a little princess of the Uzumaki clan, she didn't need to go shopping at all. After arriving in Konoha, she rarely even stepped out of the gate of Senju's ancestral home. What to do? Kushina is very confused. After thinking carefully for a few minutes, Kushina encouraged herself in her heart. "Kushina, believe in yourself, you can do it." After cheering herself up, Kushina raised her head, looked at Uzumaki Mito's face, and said seriously, "Grandma Mito, how about I go buy something for Sister Tsunade and deliver it to Shizuchi-kuen, but you have to send someone to guide me, because I have never been to the market and I don't know the price." The little girl finally took the bait. Uzumaki Mito smiled and nodded, saying, "I will ask Muyong to accompany you, and when you come back, he will also bring you back." He raised his hand and rubbed Kushina's red hair. "Child, you should keep the road in your heart carefully, and you will be able to find your friends in the future, right? Write down the route and then go find your friends?" Kushina was stunned for a few seconds and said in surprise, "Grandma Mito, can I? Can I really move freely? Including going to see friends?" "Of course you can. Grandma Mito assures you that you can do it. Konoha is your home and you can go wherever you want. Grandma Mito." Mito Uzumaki's face was full of a kind smile, and he hugged Kushina tightly. Kushina lay in Mito Uzumaki's arms and cried with emotion. Kushina prepared and went out. After she left, Tsunade walked into the house with a complicated expression. Episode 7. Kushina's first DIY food. Grandma, does this count as cheating, Kushina? Being in a bad mood after being taught a lesson, or not being able to fulfill the agreement are all bullshit, they are all just a game. A game that allowed Kushina to take the initiative to take over the task and complete the agreement. Tsunade felt it was a bit unethical to do this, after all Kushina was still a child. Then do you have a better way to make Kushina let go of the grief in her heart, put down her guard against the village, and integrate into the village? Mito Uzumaki glared at his granddaughter angrily. If you can do it, do you still need me, an old woman, to bother you? What you said makes sense. Tsunade shrank her neck and shut up decisively. She did not dare to talk back to Uzumaki Mito. But aren't you afraid of what might happen? What if Kushina is cheated? Do you think Hyuga Jingyi is unreliable? Uzumaki Mito leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. When I didn't say it. Tsunade couldn't help but want to roll her eyes, but she was afraid that her grandma would catch her and scold her, saying that she didn't have the slightest bit of what a girl should be like. Tsunade is most afraid of being nagged and educated by her grandma. As for whether Jingyi can be trusted. Just kidding, that's the person I brought out. Who is I? Tsunade Haim. The eldest granddaughter of the first Hokage, Princess Konoha. Could my Tsunade Haim's vision be wrong? Absolutely impossible. Dong dong dong. The door is unlocked, please come in. Jingyi, who was resting on the sofa, heard a knock on the door. The door was slowly pushed open, and Kushina walked in with difficulty carrying the bag. At this time, her forehead was covered with sweat and she looked very tired. Shizuchi-kun, Sister Tsunade has something to do today, so I helped her buy something for you. I didn't know what you like to eat, so I bought a little more. Placing the bag on the ground, Kushina happily showed off her achievements. Jingyi stood up from the sofa and was silent for a while. Although he couldn't see it with his eyes, he could use his senses to tell how much Kushina had bought. It was a big bag, so bulging that even a violent little Lolita like Kushina had trouble carrying it, which showed how heavy the bag was. Jingyi felt that he should not let down Kushina's kindness, so he smiled and asked, "Thank you for your hard work, Kushina, can you tell me what you bought?" "Hee, you're welcome. I don't feel it's hard. On the contrary, I feel great and interesting." Kushina wiped the sweat from her head and it was obvious that she was in a good mood. Although this was her first time to go to the market to buy vegetables, she made a lot of jokes along the way. Fortunately, the task was completed. Potatoes and beef. The uncle who sells beef said that if you buy more, it will be cheaper. Kushina thought she was very smart and bought a lot of beef at a low price. No matter what you buy, as long as the quantity is large, it will be cheaper. After all, buying groceries is not buying luxury goods. People will want you to pack them all and take them away. Opening her mouth, Jingyi thought it was better not to say this. After all, Kushina means well. How about we have barbecue? Okay. Kushina clapped her hands happily, but she was worried about Jingyi's eyes. Why don't you give it up? Grandma Mito said this is wrong. You can't see and it's inconvenient to move. Then let's go together, how about I take charge and you take charge? At Jingyi's invitation, Kushina hesitated, but agreed obediently. She didn't want to disappoint Jingyi, and she felt itchy in her heart. The food you made by yourself must be delicious. First, cut the beef into large pieces. Yes, this size is suitable. Then pour the chopped ingredients into the pot, along with the seasonings, and marinate the beef. After marinating the beef, Kushina ran to the yard to dig mud with a small hoe. She kept thinking, but couldn't figure out why roast beef needed to be made with mud. The CPU in my little brain is almost dry. Wrap the marinated beef in lotus leaves, coat it in thick mud, and then throw it into the fire. Looking at Jingyi's confident and beautiful face, Kushina fell into self-doubt. Can the meat produced in this way be eaten? When the beggar's beef was freshly baked, everyone in Kushina was stunned. So cooking can be so fun? It's mud again, and it's lotus leaves again. Although the production process is a bit strange, the taste is really great. The large pieces of marinated beef are very soft and delicious. Kushina was very happy to eat. In addition to the delicious beef, there is also the element of making it yourself. Even if her clothes get dirty, Kushina doesn't care at all. The smile on the dull little face never stopped. So the rules of the Hyuga clan are so strict? It's so scary. Kushina was deeply shocked when she heard Shizuchi talking about the Hyuga clan. She felt that compared to the Hyuga clan, the Uzumaki clan seemed to have no rules at all. Not to mention the Hyuga clan, above the clan, the branch house can only defend the clan. To put it nicely, we are one family. To put it harshly, the branch house is the servant and slave of the clan. Fortunately, with the village's suppression, even if the Hyuga clan has the right to punish the branch house, they don't dare to go too far. Judging from this, third Hokage has done some personnel work. Because of his control and suppression, a lot of the arrogance of the Hyuga clan was wiped out, and a lot of power in their hands was divided. There was a faint smile on Jingyi's lips. Is it scary? It's okay. Now with the coordination of the village, the clan can't punish the people in the branch house for no reason, let alone kill people at will like before. Although the F4 team did this for a purpose, suppressing it through such means did make the life of the branch house much easier. Kushina said angrily, these people in the Zong family are simply too abominable. They are simply a group of evil people. The more she knew, the more Kushina felt that she and Jingyi were the same kind of people. Although Jingyi still has a family and people of her own, the situation is more difficult than hers. Coupled with the existence of the caged bird curse seal, it is impossible for people in the branch house to resist. Jingyi-kun. Kushina is very worried that Jingyi will be targeted by her family. Jingyi smiled freely, raised her hand and patted Kushina's little head, comforting. Don't worry about me. I have passed the medical ninja exam now and have gone to work at Konoha Hospital. With Tsunade here, no one from the Zong family will dare to trouble me casually. Then I'll be relieved. Kushina is afraid that the Hyuga family will find trouble for Shizuchi at any time, or order him in the name of the family. The ninjas of the ninja family attach great importance to family honor. It's a pity that he is not one of them, because he is a time traveler. Any family honor is bullshit to him, let alone a decadent, dark and impersonal family like the Hyuga clan. After listening to Jingyi's story, Kushina also shared her own story with him. It was almost time, and Kushina knew it was time to leave. Although she has gained a certain degree of freedom, she cannot be willful because she does not have the capital to be willful at this time. Then Jingyi, I'm going back first, and I'll come to visit you another day. Even though she was reluctant to leave, Kushina left obediently and returned to Senju's ancestral home. Uzumaki Mito gave her a certain amount of freedom, but she had to abide by the agreement, go home on time and not stay out for too long. This kid. Although Jingyi is only 13 years old, in his eyes, Kushina is indeed a child. Not to mention the previous life, the age difference in this life alone is a full 7 years. Kushina bought too many things at once. How long can the vegetables be stored? What about the meat? If it is not taken care of, it will break down quickly. At this time, household appliances such as refrigerators have not yet become popular in the ninja world. In order to prevent the meat from spoiling, Jingyi could only marinate the meat and make it into smoked beef jerky. Fortunately, I bought beef. It would be really difficult to deal with a bunch of pork. Jingyi fell into busyness. Kushina happily returned to Senju's ancestral home. Grandma Mito, Sister Tsunade, Brother Nashu, this is the beef I brought for you. It's delicious. I cooked it myself. Kushina Xianbao usually places the beef brought back on the table. Episode 8. Whoever dares to bully you, then blow his head off. You did it? Tsunade looked at Kushina as if she were looking at an alien. She remembered that Kushina, like her, knew nothing about cooking. It was still a question whether she even entered the kitchen. Really? Let me try. Naoshu eagerly grabbed a piece of beef and stuffed it into his mouth, chewed it a few times, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Sister, this beef is delicious. Kushina didn't lie. Grandma, please try it. It's very soft. Kushina was a little proud after being recognized by the rope tree. She turned her head and looked at Tsunade. Look, the beef I made has been approved. Tsunade also tried it and it was delicious, she admitted, but Kushina said she made it herself. Questionable. Okay, I did it under the command of Mr. Jingyi. Mr. Jingyi commanded, and I was responsible for doing it. Kushina is a good child, and a good child must not lie, so she recounted what happened today in detail. After hearing this, Natsuki's eyes glowed green, and Tsunade shook her head speechlessly. The brat Jingyi is really good at making food. Uzumaki Mito smiled and praised a few words, and Kushina's big eyes narrowed in joy. Kushina. After eating, Tsunade took Kushina's little hand and said awkwardly, I've been busy with work recently, and Jingyi may not be able to go there, so I can only trouble you to help buy groceries. I wonder if you are willing to help me. Ah, that's it. Kushina frowned, which made people feel that she was unhappy. You kid, you really want to agree, but you're just pretending. Tsunade was speechless, but she could only cooperate because this was a task given by Uzumaki Mito. Okay then, I'll just agree. With Tsunade's unremitting efforts, Kushina finally reluctantly agreed to help. The little girl seemed unhappy, but in fact she was so happy that she never imagined that this was deliberately staged by Tsunade and Uzumaki Mito. So the little girl happily ran towards the market the next day, and then went straight to Jing's family. When Kushina walked into the house carrying a bag of vegetables and meat, Jingyi couldn't help but fall into silence. Are you going to buy groceries or stock up? You can't build it like this even if you have a lot of money. Kushina, you don't need to buy so much food. Making money is not easy, we must know how to save, hard work and frugality are the traditional virtues. Is it a lot? Kushina showed an innocent and cute look, I don't seem to have spent much money. Jingyi. I forgot that this girl is a little rich woman. It's okay, just be happy. Jingyi tried his best to smile. Jingyi, what are you eating today? Braised lamb. Jingyi, Grandma Mito said that she will send me to a ninja school in a few days to be a transfer student. I'm a little scared. Jingyi, what if some classmates bully me? Oh, then blow their heads off. Let them know how powerful Kushina the little pepper is. Hate, I'm not little pepper. Then do you think what I said is right? That's all. Yes, if anyone wants to bully me, blow their head off. If I can't beat them, I'll ask Jingyi to help me beat them up. After getting to know each other, Kushina is like a little chatterbox, talking endlessly with a small mouth, and never seems to be tired. Hiruzen, are you sure you don't care about this? Shimura Danzo came to Hokage's office with an information scroll and slammed the scroll on the table. Kushina is the next Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha. Jinchuriki should not have feelings between men and women, because when giving birth to a child, Jinchuriki is at its weakest. Facing the menacing Shimura Danzo, Third Hokage calmly opened the scroll, looked at it, and then put it away. He said calmly to Shimura Danzo, Danzo, this is Mito-sama's order. What the hell? Shimura Danzo almost choked himself to death. The same excuse again. It's Mito-sama's order again. Can't you, Sarutobi Hiruzen, make another excuse? Seeing that his old friend was so angry, Third Hokage chuckled inwardly. Jinchuriki also needs to get in touch with people in the village in order to better integrate into the village, treat the village as their own home, and forget the Uzumaki clan in the past. Kushina and Hyuga get along very well. With Mito-sama and Tsunade here, what do you think? Will Kushina be cheated? But Danzo did not dare to say that he did not believe in the vision of Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade. That's all Tsunade said, she just wanted to show off to him and get angry, and just don't take it seriously. But not Uzumaki Mito. If Danzo dares to slander this person, then he, the Hokage assistant, will no longer have to do it. Danzo, no, but I believe you know the changes in Kushina these days. Besides, Kushina and Hyuga are just friends. You're fine. Shimura Danzo clenched his fists bitterly. He finally understood, and the third Hokage kept using Uzumaki Mito to block him, and he was not allowed to interfere with Kushina's affairs. I hope you won't regret your decision today. After failing to persuade him and getting angry, Shimura Danzo came angrily and left angrily. He felt that he needed to talk to Jingyi. The second fetal movement was finally over. What Jingyi couldn't figure out was why the three fetal movements in his eyes were so long apart. It's just a long interval, the fetal movement time is obviously longer than the Akatsuki on the moon who is greedy for Hinata's body. The three fetal movements of Tonari's reincarnation I ended quickly, but he was so slow. Is it because I don't have Akatsuki chakra? Or is it because the eyes of others do not belong to you and will degenerate into white eyes under certain conditions? There was so little information about the Tsangikan that Jingyi was not sure whether his guess was correct. When it comes to the reincarnation eye, he knows a lot about it, but there is too little information and introduction about the reincarnation eye. Forget it, just make it longer. It's better than the Sharingan in Uchiha next door. In comparison, 3 fetal movements that last longer are nothing at all. Look at Sharingan, it is difficult to open the eyes, and it is even harder to evolve the eyes. From the 3 Magatama levels to Mangekyo, countless Uchiha people were stuck. Mangekyo to Eternity Mangekyo is even more difficult. Want to get the Samsara eye? Sorry, this thing can only be obtained if you have heaven-defying luck and all the conditions are met, or Six Paths personally gives it to you. First of all, you have to become the reincarnation of Indra Chakra. Secondly, you have to have a relative who is willing to sacrifice his eyes for you. You also need to have a friend who is the reincarnation of Ajura Chakra. In addition, you have to wait for at least 20 years to make it possible. The Samsara eye is born. This is no longer a condition, it is really harder than reaching the sky. It took conspirators like Black Zetsu thousands of years to successfully launch an Uchiha Madara. One can imagine how difficult it is to obtain the Samsara eye. I will officially start working tomorrow, find a suitable house as soon as possible, and then move out. Episode 9. Warn me? Then ask my backer if he agrees. In the future, the famous handmade ramen has not yet appeared. At this time, handmade noodles are still a little kid, and he can only follow his father's butt and beat him. To be honest, my father's hand beating skills are just that. It's edible, but not very delicious. After eating ramen, shopping around, and buying some clothes, Jingyi went home. When he walked to a small park some distance away from the Hyuga tribe, he stopped. 2 ninjas wearing umbu costumes stopped him. Hyuga Jingyi, Danzo-sama invites you. Danzo? What is this old guy doing with me? Is it because he is talented and wants to win over her, or is Kushina here to warn him? After thinking about it, Jingyi turned around and walked towards the small park. The park was very quiet, with only Danzo alone. Hyuga, do you know what you are doing? Shimura Danzo took the lead. Jingyi blinked his eyes blankly, tilted his head and thought for a while. After the atmosphere created by Danzo dissipated a little, he spoke. I don't know what Danzo-sama is talking about, but I think as a member of Konoha, I have the right to go shopping, eat ramen, and buy clothes. Is this what I'm specifically talking about? You are pretending to be stupid for me, right? Hyuga Jingyi, stay away from Kushina, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is not something people like you can contact. Since Shizuchi was pretending to be stupid, Danzo simply made the matter clear. Oh well. Jingyi answered seriously. Because he really never found Kushina. It was Kushina who took the initiative to approach him, or Tsunade brought her here herself. TSK, if you have the ability, go to Tsunade, or Uzumaki Mito. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. After saying that, Jingyi turned around and left. Danzo, who stayed where he was, looked confused. This guy seemed to have agreed, but something didn't feel right. And the reaction was too calm. Could it be? Shimura Danzo's face became increasingly ugly as he began to think about it. Damn it. Why, she is just an old. Realizing that his words were a bit disrespectful, Danzo quickly stopped. During this period, Danzo was far less arrogant than later. At this time, he is just a Hokage assistant with no power in his hands and full of ambition in his heart. It has not even developed its roots, nor has it been decentralized by third Hokage. At this time, Jingyi didn't need to worry about what Danzo would do to him. And he has a backer. Neither the Hyuga clan nor Tsunade would allow Danzo to lay a hand on Shizu. Shimura Danzo can only shout, so what is he afraid of? His last name is not Uchiha. You warned me not to get close to Kushina and I promised you so. Anyway, it was Kushina who took the initiative to approach me, so I asked you if you are angry. Are you angry? Ha ha ha. Walking out of the park, Jingyi burst out laughing. Shimura Danzo, who was still in the park, heard the sound and felt it was very harsh. Hyuga Jingyi. Just wait for me. Don't think that with the Hyuga clan and Uzumaki Mito as your backers, you can continue to be arrogant, but your backers will fall. Jingyi doesn't care much about whether his backer will fall. Shimura Danzo is unlikely to rise in a short period of time. As long as I rise before you, Danzo, are nothing. Early the next morning, Jingyi came to Konoha Hospital early. Tsunade was on duty yesterday and didn't go home, so she simply took Shizuchi to get acquainted with him and get to know the person. After all, Jingyi had been doing this in the hospital for a long time, and he was already an acquaintance. Appointment is nothing more than a procedure. It's true that I'm so kind to you. You still have some conscience and know how to bring me something to eat. After not sleeping all night, Tsunade was now hungry and sleepy. I won't talk nonsense about what to do, how to receive patients, and how to treat these. The scroll of strange power you want to learn is in the closet. You can get it later. After learning, return it to me directly. Don't leave it in the hospital. After warning Shizuchi, Tsunade prepared to retreat. As for the strange power technique, it was the reward she had promised to Jingyi before. As long as Jingyi successfully passed the medical ninja test, she would give him a scroll and let him learn it. Wait. Shizuchi stopped Tsunade, who was about to run away. What are you doing? Tsunade wiped the oil from her mouth and said with a displeased look on her face, You don't want me to sleep in the lounge, do you? No, you go back to sleep. Jingyi waved his hand and said, I want to say that our Hokage assistant came to me last night and warned me to stay away from Kushina, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, so I was in a dilemma. Old thing. Tsunade couldn't help but cursed, Don't pay attention to him, I will find grandma myself. How we got along with Kushina before, we will still get along with each other in the future. Danzo, you have such a long stretch. Looking at Tsunade, who left angrily, Jingyi smiled secretly. If you have a backer but don't rely on it, what's the point of having a backer? Should I be warned? I'll sue you directly. After returning home, Tsunade immediately told Uzumaki Mito about the incident. Grandma, this Danzo has gone too far. He wants to interfere in everything. He has not given up on imprisoning Kushina. It is simply too much. You go and rest, I will handle this matter myself. Uzumaki Mito's face was calm, and it was hard to tell whether he was angry or indifferent. Okay, I'm going to bed first. I'm exhausted. It's really hard to stay up all night. Uzumaki Mito wants to come forward to deal with it, and Tsunade no longer cares about these nonsense. The main reason is that she has no good way to deal with Danzo. At most, she will lose her temper and scold Danzo. For Shimura Danzo, this is neither painful nor itchy. But it was different when Uzumaki Mito took action personally. Episode 10. Danzo steals the chicken but loses the rice. Guaranteed Shimura Danzo delaminate leather. Ha ha ha. Thinking of Shimura Danzo being scolded so badly by his grandmother that he didn't even dare to fart, Tsunade couldn't help but laugh and roll around on the bed. Unfortunately, Uzumaki Mito had no intention of personally reprimanding Shimura Danzo. With the identity and status of Uzumaki Mito, Shimura Danzo came forward to teach Shimura Danzo a lesson, and the other party really did not dare to have any temper. But doing so would be very price-deprecating for Uzumaki Mito. The important thing is that she doesn't want to see Danzo, who is full of ambition. Instead of doing it yourself, it would be better to bring the matter to the Hokage office building and let the third Hokage and the elders take action. Ever since, third Hokage, who was busy in the Hokage office, was summoned. Third Hokage immediately put down what he was doing and rushed to Senju's ancestral house. Not long after, third Hokage left Senju's ancestral house and returned to Hokage's office with a dark face. Monkey, is there anything important you are looking for me in such a hurry? After the first ninja war ended and the third Hokage firmly established itself as the Hokage, Akamichi, a big fat man, chose to downplay himself from the top in order to seek better development for the Ino, Luka, and Butterfly family. Huddled up in the family all day long studying food, and the Bingliang pills mastered and produced by Zoludi. Let's wait until the others arrive. The third Hokage nodded slightly and signaled Akamichi to sit for a while. Akamichi patted his big belly, looked at the small chair in front of him, and simply pulled a cushion and sat directly on the floor. It was really difficult for him to sit on a chair with his huge body. Soon, Koharu and Mito Manabu also came to the Hokage office. The two people who walked into the office noticed Akamichi sitting on the floor doing nothing, and couldn't help laughing. Fat man, you are fat again. There's no way. Akamichi laughed loudly, not forgetting to let Mito Kataru pat his big belly to try his hand. Seeing that these two people were still messing around like before, Koharu went to bed and scolded him angrily. What kind of status do you have? How can you still mess around like this? Yes, I can't afford it. Akamichi immediately turned his face away and pretended that nothing happened. Mito Kabuto also pulled up a chair and sat down, as if he wasn't the one who went to pat Akamichi's belly just now. Seeing that the two calmed down and moved to bed, Koharu walked to the chair next to third Hokage and sat down. Hiruzen, is there something important that you need to do to get everyone here in a hurry? Danzo hadn't arrived yet, so third Hokage chose to ventilate the three of them first. Mito-sama just came to see me. The reason is that Danzo came out to warn Hyuga Shizuchi not to allow him to approach Kushina. Is he crazy? Koharu was a straight-tempered person, so he blurted out, isn't Kushina's matter already settled? Hyuga Shizuchi was the disciple brought out by Tsunade, and was recognized by Mito-sama. Danzo turned his back and warned others, are you going to break the agreement? Good guy. Akamichi Tofeng and Mito Katarin looked at each other. Others are shooting stones at their own feet, but Danzo Shimura is better off shooting his own people. It's like making a promise with the front foot, than just throwing stones at it with the back foot. Where is the face? Shizuchi was brought out by Tsunade and was recognized by Uzumaki Mito. Equality is one's own. If it weren't for the fact that he came from the Hyuga clan, he would be a pure Hokage faction, and their high-level group had already reached an agreement with Uzumaki Mito. As a result, Shimura Danzo turned his back and went to make trouble. Mito-sama is not happy about this. The third Hokage wanted to strangle Shimura Danzo to death. Where is your brain? Does the matter to be discussed today have anything to do with me? Shimura Danzo, who arrived late, heard someone mentioning his name from a distance. When I walked into the Hokage office, I saw that the third Hokage had a dark face and went to bed. Koharu looked unhappy, and Akamichi gave him a helpless look and reminded him to be careful. Did Hyuga Jingyi run away to complain? Shimura Danzo thought of this possibility. Danzo, what on earth do you want to do? Shimura Danzo came, and third Hokage went crazy on the spot. We have already made an internal decision about Kushina. You were also present at the time. We have reached an agreement with Mito-sama. Why did you do this? For the stability of the village and the Jinchuriki's control. Not to be outdone, Shimura Danzo counterattacked, Jinchuriki should not have feelings between men and women. Whether Hyuga Shizuchi is a member of the Hyuga clan or the Hyuga branch house is an uncontrollable factor. You know how dangerous it is to give birth to Jinchuriki. With that said, Shimura Danzo looked towards Koharu and others, hoping that they would stand on his side and support him. After going to bed, Koharu's face was ashen and he would not give Shimura Danzo any support at all. Mito Kaden could only shake his head. Ahem. Seeing that the ball was coming to his side, Akamichi coughed dryly and reminded Shimura Danzo, Danzo, Kushina is only 6 years old. Others are just a 6-year-old girl, but you have even considered growing up and having children in the future. Isn't it a bit ahead of your time? What do you mean? Shimura Danzo frowned. Are you pretending not to understand? Akamichi was speechless. Danzo's old habit was back again. If something makes sense, hold on to it. If it doesn't make sense, just make excuses. Akamichi said helplessly, Duanzo, we know what you are worried about, but don't you think your worries are a bit unnecessary? Kushina is only 6 years old. According to Umbu's investigation, Hyuga Jingyi is more favor Tsunade, not Kushina. As he said that, Akamichi started to fight, and touched Mito Menyen with his hand. Menyen, when you were 13 years old, would you like a 6-year-old brat? Mito Katoan glanced at Shimura Danzo with a strange look, and his face began to turn red, and he said cooperatively, of course not, isn't it good for a pretty big sister? Hiruzen also likes this. Enough. As the third Hokage started to lose his composure, he went to bed and Koharu couldn't listen anymore. I'm still sitting here, and you guys are talking about random things, and the topics are getting more and more inappropriate. Fortunately, although the topic is not serious, at least it is true. Okay. Go to bed. Koharu got mad, and third Hokage quickly withdrew the topic, drifting further and further away. Konoha's high-level group held an important meeting, but the content of the meeting was that everyone liked Big Sister. If this spread, I'm afraid countless people would laugh out loud. Danzo. The third Hokage issued a stern warning, from now on, all matters concerning Kushina, big or small, will be handled by me personally. Neither you nor the elders are allowed to interfere. Sarutobi, you. Danzo immediately became anxious when he heard this. This was not the result he wanted. He wanted to go further, but instead of progress, he regressed. I won't regret it, and I am the Hokage. The third Hokage, who knew Shimura Danzo well, chose to grab the conversation. If you grab Shimura Danzo will be speechless.